So for those of you that have not started using generative AI in your everyday life, I would strongly suggest that you might want to start looking at it. It really can make your life considerably easier. And we're going to go over a few examples here on how to use generative AI for your life. And it's all free. So stay tuned. We're going to jump right to it. All right, let's start with an easy example. So for some of you, this may not be as applicable. For me, it is, but it gives us a great insight into how these AIs are working. So here, I'm just giving it the command. Notice here, I just type in translate. Now, I happen to be on Gemini, which used to be called Bard, B-A-R-D. It's now called Gemini. Now, I also have Copilot up and ChatGPT. So all three of these have free options. You can pay for the extended options, which are about 20 bucks a month, but they all have free options. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how each of them react. Remember, the strength, advertised strength at least, for Gemini is that it gives the most up-to-date information because it's pulling from data models, basically collections of information that are more current, as current as a couple of months ago, whereas ChatGPT doesn't pull from current data. It's usually a couple of years behind. So you just have to remember when you're using these AIs, these generative AIs, would it matter if you were asking about World War II when the data was pulled? Probably not as much, right? So I'm going to show you some examples. So here's the example of a translation for Gemini. So this talks about what the translation is and kind of translates it for you. You can copy this, but you can see that I kind of have to highlight it. I can hit the three buttons and hit copy, okay? And now it copies the data to my clipboard. So that's what Gemini does. We ran the same model with Copilot. We just said translate, and we put in the data, and this is what it gave us. It didn't translate anything. It wasn't intuitive enough to understand that we wanted it translated from another language other than German, and we wanted it translated in English because that's the language that's commonly used with this generative AI is English. ChatGPT did a great job as well. So here it said, kind of did the comparison. Now I want to go ahead and paste this in. This is what Gemini said to us, okay? And here's what ChatGPT, and as you look, notice that they do things a little different. Notice that ChatGPT lowercase this, right? Here, Gemini took the time to put it in uppercase so that it's more, this is more like this, but here it translated it more into more human terms for us. Attached to our current documents if you have further questions or need. So it gave us the same stuff, but I would have to say Gemini gave us the best looking output. So pretty easy, right? Now I can see that German. I can use Google Translate and other things, but it's just as easy to use Gemini or ChatGPT. Copilot, not really something I want to use for this in this example, although Copilot has its strengths in other areas. Let's take a look at another example. All right, so we've given it another example here. Notice here in the bottom here, YouTube title, description, comment, delimited, meta tags 4, : Notice I'm not using any grammar. In fact, I don't know if I misspelt anything. Let's misspell this. Okay. All right, so that's what we're going to give the generative AI, to see what they come up with. Let's go ahead and click go. And then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing for all three of them. So it's exactly the same for all three of the generative AIs. Now, this gives you an example of writing. I am not proposing that you use ChatGPT or generative AIs to do all of your writing for you. You need to As my brother said, Copilot is perfectly named because it is a co-pilot, right? Not the pilot. So you need to give it some information. And we gave it some information here, and then this is what it produced. So let's look at Gemini. So here we have a nice format, right? It's formatted nicely. It gives us a nice clean description of what is going on, and then it gives us, as we asked for, comma delimited meta tags that we can add to the video. Let's go ahead and take a look, see what Copilot did. Copilot, again, not coming out of this very strong. It gave us a title, which was limited, and the description is very limited in comparison to Gemini. And we asked it to give us comma delimited meta tags, and it gave us bullet delimited meta tags. So it didn't really follow instructions for us. ChatGPT, and I'm not dogging Microsoft, by the way. I love their products, but just it's not doing so well in these examples. Here, this is very similar to our Gemini example, right? Here, it kind of, in fact, I would say that it's probably used very similar data as well. So let's look. So this one, unleash the power of generative AI, your new search engine and everyday assistant. Using generative AI can make life easier, the new search engine. Says the same thing. You'll have to figure out which one. I kind of like this one from Google a little bit better. Okay. And then here, tired of endless searches. So it's just a different approach, right? It's using different language, but it kind of says the same thing. And then here, generative AI, ChatGPT, notice it's using the same, almost the exact same meta tags, although I have to say that Gemini is probably a better pick for using this information. So, great. So let's do one more example before we go, and this one is going to be on creating a trip. Okay, so I want to see Liverpool. We're not going to give it where. We're going to assume it knows England. What do you suggest I see? So we're just going to go ahead and let ChatGPT chew on that. We're going to let Copilot chew on that, and then we're going to let Google chew on it. All right. So let's go ahead. This will be the last one we'll do. We'll pull these apart and we'll kind of line them up to see what they look like, because this one's a little different example for us. All right. So I'm going to pull that guy out too. And let's just go ahead and line these up. So there's Copilot. All right. And here is ChatGPT. And then here is Gemini. All right. So let's make these just a teeny bit smaller. So as you can see here, and there is a considerable difference sometimes between the way it outputs information. So let's go ahead and take a look here. All right. So ChatGPT, good. It gave us a lot of things. Notice the Beatles story. You know, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff, but you can see here that it's pulling up a different list, some shared, but not all of them. Okay. But inside of Copilot, it's giving us kind of different things that we can go focus on. Okay, 4 different items. Here inside of Gemini, we see it gives us more information, and it gives us kind of some photos to look around the Cavern Club, and it does a great job of laying out the photos as well as places to see. Now, we're going to ask each of them to give us more details. So can you give me addresses and more details? Okay, we want it to act like it is, that we're talking to it, right? So here, we'll give that one, and then we'll go over here to Copilot and do the same thing. Okay. Now, what we want it to do is assume that based on what we just gave it as far as information, we want it to assume that, it's going to give us all that information. We'll have to do it. Let's look at Copilot. What a great job, right? It kind of laid everything out, gave us an address, opening hours, where it is, okay? And it looks like it gave us the URL as well. So didn't give us a lot, only gave us details on 2, but still gave us something. Here, let's take a look at ChatGPT. Again, lacking the pictures, but notice here, it gave us URLs that we can go to and gave us some information. Now, let's go here to Gemini and see how it did. So in Gemini, here's the details. Gave us an address, opening hours, gave us cost as well, and the picture itself is from TripAdvisor. I'm not sure if that polls open. Let's see here. Can you add URLs to the sites as well? Let's see what it does for us. So you can, the intent of a generative AI is that you can talk to it. So here, and there it goes. So it's picking up that it's working on this project for us that we've started as a new thread, and it's picking up everything that we want. And so we don't have to re-ask the question. Now notice it's given us a nice fluid perspective on travel. So here's all of their addresses, the ones that have them, costs, exactly how and what we need to do. So this has just been a brief example of 3 examples of generative AI. If you're not using it, I would strongly suggest Copilot, ChatGPT, and Gemini. And you may want to just have all 3 of them and do a comparison. It doesn't take any energy to copy and paste in between them. See which ones are going to give you the best shot. Good luck.